very happy to be here today. Hello, JCPS family. This is a very special, Facebook town hall event because we are getting us ready for NTI 2.0. I am Crystal Hawkins, our district's family engagement specialist, and I have some amazing women here today to talk about the supports that we're going to offer during NTI 2.0 and really, give some important information for families that we're really going to need during NTI 2.0. So I'm just going to start by introducing these beautiful women here today. I'm going to start with Felicia Young is joining us from Metro United Way. She also works with Blocks. And Felicia is the Senior Manager of Education, Training, and Program Development. So we're really excited to have Felicia because she's going to share her perspective about how we can connect with some of our community partners in NTI. And we also have Dr. Angelique Sharer, who is joining us, and she is with JCPS. She's our Assistant Director of Exceptional Child Education. Very happy. I know some families had a lot of questions about what NTI is going to look like for our students in ECE, so I'm really excited about talking with Dr. Sharer. We have Dr. Kishkumi Price, who is with the Louisville Urban League, and Dr. Price is the Director of Education, Policy, and Programming, and she will be talking a lot about what the Louisville Urban League is doing to engage families and students during NTI. And we also have our wonderful JCPS Chief of Communications, Renee Murphy, who is going to give a lot of just really important information to get us going. There have been so many moving parts, and so we really want to make sure that this opportunity we're able to level set, give a lot of information about where we are, and then talk about how we're going to support. So I'm just going to start by just giving my perspective of why this is so important. I'm very fortunate to be in the role of a family engagement specialist within our district because I understand how important it is to have family and community supporting you. So I think about my childhood having a wonderful mother who was a single mom with 3 children, and how difficult it was to support us in a regular, school situation. And to be honest with you, I can't imagine how it would have been for my mother and for us if we were in a situation where we couldn't go to school and we had to do everything at home. We may have been the family that may not have had a device, or we may have been food insecure at moments. So this is important for us. We really want to make sure that we are connecting with you all as family members. We ask that in this experience today that you are putting questions in the chat. And if there are any questions that we are not answering today, this is not your last opportunity to engage with us. We are here, we are your partner. So with that, I'm going to first start with Renee Murphy to share some really important information. I know in this moment, a lot of families may say, I heard this, I heard that, but Renee is amazing at kind of level setting with where we are. So Renee, can you bring us up to speed a little bit?
Sure. Well, hello and good evening to everyone. Nice to see lots of familiar faces here and nice to connect with all of our families out there. I'll say first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have 3 kids in JCPS, and I too have many of the questions that you may have. How am I going to handle all of this? I still have to work. How am I going to make sure that my kids can do all of their schoolwork? So I'm right there with all of our families, and I love that we have this space where parents can come together and hopefully make connections and know that we're kind of all in this together. And we know this is not the most ideal situation right now, but this is where we are when it comes to health and safety. And we want to do what's in the best interest of health and safety for our students and our staff members. So I do want to make sure our families know that if you do need access to a Chromebook, the laptop device we'll be using during NTI, or if you do need access to the internet, you can get a Wi-Fi hotspot for high-speed internet access. We do have availability for that right now. You can request those devices by going to our website. It's right at the top of our homepage. If you go online, you can click information there to request a device. It's really easy. It's about a 5-step process to do that. And you'll be hearing soon from your school about the next process and picking up that device and what you need to do next. So you'll be hearing from your school soon after you make that request. We've had about 19,000 requests already, and we know that we are going to be getting more coming in, and we're looking to make sure we can connect every family that needs a device with a device to make sure that that learning can continue during the fall for NTI. And we also want to let our families know that we have something new this year because our buildings are closed and we can't have our families come in, and we're trying to limit contact. All of those forms that you get at the beginning of the school year, typically when you go in to meet the teacher day or you go into the open house, all of those forms are now available on our website. So if you go to our website, you'll see what parents need to know, a big section on our homepage that will give you all the information. But on that webpage, there's information too about forms. So we encourage our families to click on that link. We also have a video to show you exactly how to set up an account to do that. And the information is a pretty easy process to get into that. It is a new process that we've started this year, brand new. So we are encouraging families to go ahead and fill out the forms if they can. We also want to let our families know that if you are looking to connect with your child's school, they're having many drive-through events. We had some actually this week that have been really great to see, virtual orientations. So if families don't have internet access or they're unsure about filling out the forms, when you, your school's gonna be reaching out to you, so they'll be connecting with you on so many different things. So those are big things that we have going on right now. We're gonna be having more information for families too about exactly how to access Google Classroom, how to get into your child's NTI work coming up next week, and you'll be hearing from your schools about that as well.
So one thing I wanted to also emphasize is Renee is working so hard to make sure that the messaging at all of your schools is consistent. And she's doing an amazing job of trying to collect information from elementary, middle, and high so that there's a consistent message, because we heard from families in the beginning of NTI that, you know, sometimes there were just different messages coming. So please know that all the things that Renee's in her department's doing to connect with families, it's on the level of consistency. And you may hear it in different spaces. You may get a text, you may get a, connect on social media, but you're still getting a very consistent message. So we appreciate that.
I'm excited to work with you too, Crystal, because we're talking about messaging. We can talk too about School Connect that we have that's going to be launching next week. Some schools may have already gotten an invitation to download this new app, but thanks to Crystal and her hard work with family engagement, she brought this idea to us, and we think it's going to be a really great tool during NTI. It'll have a two-way messaging feature, so schools and families can connect kind of like Facebook Messenger. And the great thing too is that there's going to be an option for instant language translation. So we don't want that to be a barrier for any family in terms of connection. So we're really excited about that application. All of our parents will be receiving an invitation from the district coming up on Monday to download that app. And we have many of our schools are trained in this, and many of our schools will be using this. So we think this is going to be a great tool for NTI 2.0.
I am getting some questions, and I'm going to get to our other fabulous ladies, but I want to make sure that we are answering some questions as they come in. So we have a question from T on the high school level asking about when they're going to get their child's schedule, and they're trying to get school supplies while they're on sale. So they have a question about when they're going to get their schedule. So Renee, do you know about when schools are going to be sending out that schedule, when they'll have access to that?
Yes, if you have not heard from your school yet, you should be hearing from your school this week with more information about that. And then we do have on our website too, our traditional, we call it our fundamental school supply list. So that information is still on our website if you're looking to get supplies to supplement the online learning.
Awesome, thank you. There's a couple more questions, but I want to get to our next idea of thinking about, we think about NTI for our students who are in regular education, but we've been getting a lot of questions about what the experience should look like for students who receive special services. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Angelique Sharer to kind of give us some feedback about what students that receive special services may experience.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate this opportunity to share information about supports for our students with individual education programs, or IEPs. And the reason why I mention it is because one of the things about our students who receive special education services, it is very individualized to that student's needs. And so while I may speak in global terms, it's going to be important for our families to work with their teachers, because their teachers will know their students the best, and they will know how to work with the families to support that instruction in the home, because it is supposed to be individualized to that student's individual needs. So that's one thing. We do know that of all of the students that we have with IEPs, there are a variety of needs. It could be learning needs, social, emotional, and behavioral needs, or we also have students who have very significant cognitive disabilities. And that's the area that we continue to get the most questions for our students who have the most complex needs. And so we are still charged to implement students' IEPs. Because of the pandemic, we are not given any relief from having to implement IEPs. And so we have to do what is most feasible and most appropriate for our students given this current circumstance. Their services may look different in the home environment than what they may look like in the school environment. And so our teachers are in charge with making sure they can do the best they can to meet the students' needs. We have provided a variety of resources to help teachers. We've even invested in some online opportunities to kind of help the teachers implement the IEPs, as well as our related service providers like occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech. So during this time of the summer, we've had some time to plan and look for ways to implement students' IEPs should we go back into NTI, and here we are in NTI 2.0. So we really have made some research and made some investments to enhance the services and supports for our students. We know that many of our families do have to work, and it can be difficult to support their students who have very significant needs. And so one of the things that we have charged our teachers to do is to record their lessons so that parents and family members can support their students maybe after work if they're not able to do that during the school day. So in addition to those face-to-face live sessions, there are also supposed to be some opportunities for students to learn even after the regular school day. I know there was a specific, you're not going to wait for this specific, oh, go ahead, Crystal.
No, we did. We get a question about, will students who have disabilities and communicate non-verbally, will the Chromebooks, are they touch screen to allow them to engage more robustly than a keyboard option only?
So the Chromebooks are not touchscreen. We do have some opportunities for families to work with their schools to look at other devices that might be more appropriate for their student to use to communicate. So while they might be able to see their teacher, the Chromebooks do not have that touchscreen access. And so we are looking at opportunities like iPads and other types of tablets that might be appropriate for students to use for that touchscreen option.
Awesome, thank you. We're starting to get some additional questions about, you know, some students who are immunocompromised, and then just wondering, is NTI going to be an option for this year? And Renee, I'll turn it over to you with that. I know that I haven't heard that NTI will go on for the entire year, but if you wanted to answer that, Renee.
One of the things that we've talked about is if there is in-person instruction, and when there is in-person instruction, having the virtual option available for our families. And so exactly what that is going to look like at this time, we've kind of called it a virtual academy that would be a little bit different than NTI. Think of NTI as being everyone is doing online learning, and the virtual academy would be those who would opt into that. So that's still in discussion when in-person instruction returns.
Awesome. And so what I also think about, again, when I've mentioned from the very beginning, my heart goes out to kids that were potentially in a situation like me, to where maybe your parent is working and you may not have the support to get on, you know, a device at home, or you may not have a device, or there just may be some other barriers. So I turn it over to, you know, an amazing partner that we have in the Louisville Urban League with Dr. Kish Kumi-Price, to talk about just some of the ways that the league, the Louisville Urban League, is supporting our students during NTI, but just giving a perspective on what we need to be thinking about in terms of We know that all of our students may not have a situation to where they will have an adult at home. So if you want to talk about maybe some of the things that the league has been doing and to support families in those situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thanks for bringing us all together to talk about this. I feel like there are a lot of anxieties around this, and I can claim my own. So I'm a parent of 2 in the district as well, an elementary school student as well as middle school, and have others that attend other schools. But I believe that one of the major concerns for us has been around advocating for the students who were, number one, disconnected from NTI 1.0 and disengaged, as well as the students who are really going to need a lot of support because of not just the academic gaps that are there, but also the support gaps, right? So if I'm a mom and I'm providing for a mom, dad, providing for my children, I have a job that requires me to be out of the home, and I don't have a true village, and maybe I have a teenager who's going to be at home with my younger kids, and basically that child is now parentified, right? And so that child has to be responsible for themselves as well as their siblings, and providing for their own academic support and their sibling support. And so we know that these situations exist. We can't ignore it. We have to be real about that. And so a lot of our advocacy has been around, how do we make this the best experience possible? We know it's not ideal. We know that everybody's going to be going through, but we also know that there are some people who have it where they can form pandemic pods and pay a teacher or a college student to work with their students. That's happening all over the nation, and it's definitely happening here in Louisville. And so what are we doing for the students who don't have that opportunity, or the families that don't have that opportunity? And we know that there are real needs to engage. And so along with that, we also know that there's the risk of coronavirus and what that means for the Black community, the brown community. And so there are a lot of issues around how can we engage students in person with all of those factors at play. And so what we've been doing is trying to advocate, number one, for the best possible remote learning platform that will allow community partners to assist students during their remote learning experience, as well as families, and really giving some guidance around what that could look like, so that students aren't having to toggle between all of the platforms and really confused about things. And so I really appreciate the partnership with JCPS to actually hear those concerns, not just from, an internal space, but listening to parents as well as community partners about how can we make this better. And so I think that has not fallen on deaf ears. I hope that we will see some of those changes with NTI 2.0. And then another piece that we've been advocating for are community learning hubs. When JCPS engaged in focus groups to really talk about, this may be what we end up doing. It may be in person, it may be virtual, it may be hybrid. We were concerned about, well, what about the families who may not want their children to return, but remote learning or the virtual academy isn't a true option for them because of personal situations with availability. And so we posed the idea of having community learning hubs, and that's just the name that's out floating around now, but you can see that in many spaces throughout the nation, where community centers is just what people do, right? If you work with people, you care about people, you think about, how do we support people, right? And specifically, how do we reach out to those that are already connected to us? So we were concerned from the league's perspective about the families we work with, but also just across the city. And so I think we have been known, and I'm saying we as in Louisvillians, to work in these silos and not to communicate across lines. And so we're trying to engage in that work. So Evolve 502 has been really instrumental in trying to pull partners together to make sure that we're seeing some coordinated efforts around this, that we understand the need to support these hubs. Why is it important to have these spaces available for students during the day? Would we rather have the headlines later on, or are we going to engage in mitigating issues that we know are upon us if we don't have some real systems in place to support families? So that's where we are with it. I know a lot of families are reaching out already to different organizations saying, you know, what are you guys doing? Can I get my kids plugged in? And a lot of these centers and providers are saying we're full, we're at capacity, or we don't know, we're waiting, because you need support, right? You need to have monetary support or in-kind donations to take your after school programming and amplify it to an all-day experience for students that is also abiding by CDC guidelines, right? So there are a lot of pieces to this, but one of the things that we think community can be helpful in supporting is really looking at, number one, maybe you are a pre-service teacher and you need extra hours, and you can dedicate your time, whether it's virtually or in person, to support students at these hubs. Maybe you're like us and we have a very small youth development team, but we have really great facilitation of our programs, and we'd love to be able to offer that to more students throughout the year than what we normally do in person. And so being able to do that in a way where it's more engaging, and we're able to not just have it in this one space and not just with the computer, but we're providing an equipment pack where you have, you know, a screen that you can actually see our facilitators and engage in real time. And so these are the things that we're thinking about and really trying to promote, because time is of the essence. We're 2 weeks out. And so we really need, we need as many people to get with the program and try to support if you can support. And not just to shout out a few people who are working on this. We have Alicia Ariati has been helping with the OST providers to pull them together to coordinate efforts. Michelle Penix has been really helpful with reaching out to some of the Black churches that are really interested in opening their doors to support students in the community. And then we have the community centers that are kind of sitting there, and I wouldn't say that they're dormant right now, but there's an opportunity to be able to fill spaces with organizations that are interested in doing the work. So I hope that we can have a more concerted effort around this. We do have an interest form that we can share with people if you're interested in donating time or money or space. Some businesses have even approached us and said, you know, hey, I'm not using my space, so if you guys want to use it, feel free to. So we understand that all of the factors, right? We have to have waivers in place, parents to say, we understand we're in a pandemic, but we know this is important and we want our kids to be supported during the day. So that's where it is. I guess I should also shout out to anybody who has a supplemental service that you would be interested in providing, like a program, youth-based program that you'd like to provide. We want to hear from you too, to be able to plug you into some of these centers who are saying, we have 3 hours of dedicated time for NTI, but we need some support, some supplemental support for the rest of the day. But that's where we are. So we are trying to push wherever we can to make sure that students are supported, specifically Black and Brown students.
Right. And we appreciate your partnership. And we have some questions on here. If you're logging on and you're putting questions in, thank you so much. I am going to get to some of those questions, but first, what Dr. Price mentioned ties right along with what Felicia Young is also working on with Metro United Way. So I wanted you all as community and families to hear what's some of the work that's happening. And then we also talk about what are some questions we still have about NTI. But before we get there, I'm going to turn it over to Felicia Young with Metro United Way to share how they're supporting students during NTI.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being, I am excited about the panel that I'm with tonight. One of the things that Metro United Way everybody knows Metro United Way is traditionally a funder of programs. We fund them to help keep the doors open, to keep the lights on, to keep programs moving along. I wanted to offer a couple of things that we are doing specifically to help parents that I think would be a benefit to parents. I'm not even sure that you know that we do. 3 things come to mind. One is the Little Libraries program that we have. We have 40 little libraries around the city. That our goal with those are for little kids or kids in general to start their own library. Take a book, read it, keep it, start your library, and do it all over again. So that's one way that we are helping. Those are strategically placed in locations in which reading scores, reading proficiency is a little lower. And so you will see them around the city in those areas. That's the one thing I wanted to shameless plug for the little libraries. I love those. But going on from there, we have, and I don't know if parents know this, when you have a medical emergency, you dial 911. When somebody's breaking into your house, you dial 911. When you are having another type of emergency, you are low on food, you don't have food, you're in risk of eviction. We do know it's 6,000 or more students in JCPS are homeless or without homes at this time, and that number may increase due to the pandemic. I want to make sure that you know what 211 is. Metro United Way has a 211 service. You pick up your phone, you dial 211. That you can text, you can email, or you can call. You can find, when you call that number, you can find services such as where to find food, where to find money to help pay to keep you from being evicted, where to find after school programs, where to find all of those kinds of services. Do not feel like you're alone, and you don't have to just call around for help. So 211 is 211gethelpnow.org. You can also text. We will put that number in the chat, as well as on the Metro United Way website. You can search by education. You can search by basic need. You can search by whatever your need is. When you call 211, they will take an intake, and they will ask you if you want to go into our United Community platform, which is a wraparound resource. So what is United Community? United Community is a relatively new place in which it's a platform of 150 organizations that have come together so that there's no wrong door. We want to make sure that we help support you so that if you need food, United Community, or the 150 organizations that are part of United Community, if you go to get food, it may be that you also need employment. It may be that you're also about to be evicted, you're having housing insecurities, any of those kind of issues, and they can take all of those and make a referral for you in real time. So you're no longer having to call all over town. You're no longer having to really worry about who to call and when. United Community will help you with that. I do have a visual that I was going to show you with all of the United Community places around the city, but I will tell you a couple. 7 counties is one of the 150. So if there's mental health issues at this time, United Communities, you will be referred to those kinds of services. JCPS has 106 Friskies who will be coming on this fall. So at JCPS schools, if you have a need, you can identify with the Frisky. You can have your child go and identify with the Friskies that there are some services that you are in need of. And a intake will be taken, and the referrals will be done for you. So you may make that one referral, and that one referral will move to each other services that you need. our job and our goal is to support JCPS families. Yes, we have an education team, so we work with many of you. Yes, we sit on committees, Rapid Response with Evolve and Louisville Urban League and so on and so forth. But our goal, our overall goal is to support families, because if the children are hungry, they can't learn. If the children are houseless, they cannot learn. And so we want to make sure that wraparound services are provided.
Thank you so much. And we know that that's a huge worry and need. And it's so good to know that we're going to have, you know, our Friskies at the school. And if someone mentions, you know, United Communities, then they may be able to get additional help at that time. So that's awesome. So we have some great questions. I mean, they're coming in. I'm looking at my phone like, oh my God, questions. So if you've been sending a question, thank you. If you've been patient, it's time to get to some of your questions. And Renee, get ready. A lot of good questions on here. So we had a question. This was from Michelle. And I might be able to answer this a little bit, but not a little bit. So Michelle, her student is in JROTC. Whoop, whoop. And her student has worked for promotions and to receive a rank up. And so I was really wondering like how that would work. I think that's an amazing question. And I can't see that they would not be honored for that promotion or that rank. I would say in that case, you would definitely want to, you know, work with your school and whoever the ROTC leader is at your school to make sure that your student gets credit for the rank and the promotion they've received. Renee, would you share anything else? Did you have anything else on that?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. A lot of times if they're very specific questions to your child and things that are going on in a particular program, the first stop is to reach out to your school. And the great thing is now we have our new phone system that launched this week. So you don't have to leave a message. We've worked it out now. So all of our school staff are able to answer the phones while we work remotely. And so someone can get back to you if they don't answer right then, but they are mostly answering the phones right now. So you should be able to get through pretty easily.
Renee, you must be reading the questions because someone did have a question about they were trying to contact the school. I'm sorry. Oh, what are the steps and expectation when a parent calls the school but has not yet received a response? So if you want to share the phone system and the transition with that.
So we had a transition. The way our phones were set up when we closed, families would have to leave a message. And then our school staff would be checking the message continuously and calling families back. In that process, though, there are technical things that may happen. And all of the calls may not, that voicemail may have been full. And families weren't able to leave a message. So on Monday, we launched something called Ring Central. And it is a system that is very easy for our team members at all of our schools to be able to have access to the phone numbers that you call the same line that you call any other time, and it goes right to our team members who are working remotely. So I had to call my kids' schools today, and I can attest that the phones are definitely working, and I got someone and they answered. So we encourage our families to go ahead. That just started this week, so it's something new. And whenever you start something new, I always ask for patience and grace. Sometimes there are hiccups along the way. But so far, we're glad to see this phone system seems to be working really well. And we think this will be a great customer service feature for our families out there, and another way to connect.
Renee, really, we're right there. So a question, you just said connect. Someone had a question. Are they going to be able to have School Connect, the app where they can message the school? Is it going to be available at all schools? And we are happy to say that, yes, it is going to be available at all schools. Thank you, Jesus. And the reason why we're happy about that is we are really trying to cut down on all of the remind requests that you get, all of the everything that you have to do for every single class. So we're hoping with this app, you have district information, you have school information, and you have teacher information all in one spot. And you can message back on the app in whatever language that you are comfortable with. You can have your message You can hear your message. So if you needed to have an option to have it read to you, you can respond with a voice to text response back. So we're just really happy to have a way that families can reach out, especially we have about 20,000 families that that English is not the first language. So this is our first opportunity to have those families, our 20,000 families that can reach out in whatever language you feel most comfortable speaking in. So we're excited about that. And so we have another question about forms. That's an important question, you all. You all are asking good questions. So we have the question, I'm going to read the question. How can I send forms to schools for middle school and school supply list? Will they be mailed out? So, and then what's the website for school supplies? So I'm going to add, those are two separate questions, and I'm going to probably let Renee speak on the forms platform. So for the first time in years, in gazillion years, families, you don't have to fill out a form for every single kid. Beautiful. So yes. So Renee, can you talk a little bit about the forms component that we have this year?
We're very excited because the forms, if you have been like me and you go to the elementary school on the Meet the Teacher Day and they give you this folder and there's all these papers you have to write out by hand every year. So we're going digital this year. Our circumstances have pushed us into the online platform for the forms now. So it is the forms are available that you would typically fill out student information, immunizations, different student permissions. Those are available online. We have the information on our website. The easiest way to find that is to go to, I call it our one-stop shop. It's our What Parents Need to Know for NTI 2.0. And in there, it has all kinds of details, but it has a link in there to forms. And when you click on that, it's going to take you to an option, and you just click Complete Forms. And it's going to take you to something that's called Parent Place. Now, it's a little bit different than Parent Portal. If parents are watching and they're used to using Parent Portal, you will have to set up a separate account. This is all for security reasons, but it's very easy to do. And then you will get in there and you'll be able to fill out all of the forms that you typically fill out every year for school. So you don't have to worry about handwriting everything out. It'll be digital and it's available online right now. Just launched this week. We had a busy Monday. So Monday we launched the link to request Chromebooks. We launched the new online forms platform, and we launched a new phone system. And so we had a lot going on here in JCPS in one day, but you know, Dr. Polio, he likes to go big. So we tried it all and we've been successful. So we're really excited about that. So the forms are available right now. We're encouraging our families to do that. You will have to set up an account. Just a reminder, if you try and get in there and use your Parent Portal password, this is a different password, but it's very easy to navigate and it's available for you right now. I'll give you the website. If you don't want to go through the web page, just go to jcps.com/parent and it'll take you right to that page and get you set up. So jcps.me/parent and it'll take you right to our forms.
Awesome. And will they be able to find, Renee, can we find school supply list on that page as well?
The school supply list is on our website. So if you just click the search bar and just type in school supplies, we have a fundamental school supply list for every grade level. Some of the things right now, there's backpacks on there right now. So our students don't need everything on there right now. But we would encourage you to check with your child's teacher to see what they may need, so you don't have to get things that may not be needed. And some schools may already have some resources they plan to distribute to students at those drive-through events. So communicate with your school. You can do that now soon through School Connect. So we're excited about that. And they'll let you know about what you need to get the school year started.
All right, we have a question regarding ECE for pre-K. So Dr. Sharer, if you could help us with this question. So the question is around, excuse me, we have a lot of questions on here. So for how would we handle special needs within early childhood? Would they connect differently if they're in early childhood with special needs?
And so we do have a different leader for early childhood. So I'm going to speak to what I do know for sure. Renata Zoller is our leader for early childhood for students who receive special ed services. I know that last time we had NTI, they provided backpacks for all of their students just because of the developmental age and being able to use a laptop or a Chromebook. And so I would have to follow up to get a good answer for that. I don't want to misspeak, but I know that last year we provided backpacks for those students. And I think it's because of developmental age and just the ability to navigate those Chromebooks. And so I'm sure that we are working with our families to provide some type of digital access to really have a robust learning experience, but I'm not sure exactly what they're providing for all the preschool students.
Okay, thanks for that contact. And we had a great question about how is NTI 2.0 different from NTI 1.0? So, and a lot of good comparisons right here. So my son had a chart to choose from, you know, the assignments for the week. They did a drive-through registration this week and they got a chart again for the first week. So they're wondering about, will there be structured instruction? So Dr. Sharer or Renee, did you all want to speak on how it should look different with 2.0?
Sure, I'll go ahead. I'll start and then Renee can add on. She has a more comprehensive lens. So I know that teachers are required to provide what they're calling synchronous instruction. And what that means is basically that face-to-face time to have time with the teacher as well as with their peers. And that is one of the things that all teachers, regardless of whether they teach special ed students or if they teach gen ed students, they are to provide those synchronous learning opportunities to have that student engagement. Additionally, they're going to be offering office hours to support families and students to help them in case they're struggling with accessing the technology, accessing the Google Classroom. So each teacher is going to be required to increase the amount of synchronous learning times that they provide, as well as offering those office hours to work with students. And we're charging our teachers of special ed to reach out to each student at least 2 times per week to check in to see if they have a question, to do those frequent checks for understanding, and making sure that families have resources they may need to support their students. We know that of the 12,000 special ed students that we have across the district, those needs vary. And so we want to check in with our parents and guardians regularly to make sure they have the supports and resources they need to support their students in the virtual environment.
All right. And I think it broke up a little bit. Hopefully it's not my internet, but I know parents have been hearing, families have been hearing synchronous and asynchronous, and it's like a new term. Can you explain what synchronous means? Like thinking about what that means? Yeah.
Yes. So synchronous learning is live instruction. So it's going to be face-to-face. The teacher is teaching live. The students are there live. So that is synchronous learning. We're all learning at the same time. Like synchronous swimming, if you think about that, we're all doing it at the same time. And so asynchronous is when it's kind of that individualized time. And so the teacher assigns activities or assignments and the students on their own independently. So asynchronous is alone, individual, independent, and then synchronous is when we do that live instruction together as a group. And we want to have more of those opportunities so that students can have that engagement with the teacher as well as with their peers, because we know that our students learn from each other.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that's a common question. Families are like, what is asynchronous and synchronous? So I have other questions, but Felicia Young, we have someone that they want to donate books to the little libraries. Yes. So they want to know, how can they donate books? They have so many books that they say that need a new home.
That's awesome. We are always taking little library books. You have 2 choices. One of us, we are working remotely right now, but I am always willing to meet you at our building and I can take them inside. The other option is if you want to email me or we can touch base, I can give you the location to the little libraries, whichever ones are nearest you. A lot of our volunteers, they love to go around and fill those little library books and they'll see kids and those sorts of things. And so you have choices. If you'd like to fill the little libraries yourself, I can give you the location. If you'd like for us to do it, we do have volunteers who take them out. I can meet you at our building and I can take them off your hands. So.
There we go. Awesome. So we have a great question about a group of students that are just going to be near and dear to our heart this next year, and they're kindergartners. So the question is, how do we manage kindergartners who do not understand the NTI process, have not been to school yet? Does anyone want to give some feedback on that? Like, so with new kindergartners coming in, how might we help our families with that?
I can jump in, Crystal. That's certainly a concern. The families haven't made the connections yet. The kids haven't made the connections yet because they haven't been to the building, and they can't go for the open house, and they can't go for the meet the teacher day. So we were actually at McFerrin the other day doing a story with a kindergarten teacher, and we're talking about this very topic. How are you going to connect everyone in this virtual space? And it was great to see, and we've got so many amazing teachers, go above and beyond, planning multiple events over the next 2 weeks to get to know the kids. And that's what we really want when the 25th starts, is to really have that time to make sure we're connecting with kids anyway, to getting to know you, building that community in the classroom. But this teacher has already started doing that with her kindergarten students to make sure they know. And the goal with NTI 2.0 is to not have students sitting in front of a computer for 5, 6, 7 hours a day. And especially for kindergarten students, it's not realistic, and that's not going to be beneficial to them. So finding that balance and making those community connections with the students, and making sure there's that balance of what Dr. Sharer was talking about with that live and recorded instruction, as well as incorporating hands-on work that can be done. Our goal is to make sure that the work that happens during NTI 2.0, the students can do this as independently as possible. But we know with kindergartners, they will need some support, they will need some help. And we're going to be flexible with families. We're willing to work with families. And this teacher too was cool. She has all those orientations with the students, but she's doing the same thing with the parents, which I thought was really cool, making sure that they get to know her and get to know each other. Because it's going to be a while before we can go back to school in person and they can see each other face to face.
And that's a great, point to think about, that our kiddos are not supposed to be in front of a classroom, in front of a screen all day. So, and, Dr. Price, Felicia Young, if you all want to share, what do we say to families that can't be home and we don't want them in front of a screen? Do you all know of how families might find anything that currently exists if they know that I'm not going to be able to be at home with my kid?
Coming from the Metro United Way standpoint, Metro United Way is a part of BLOCS, which is Building Louisville's Out of School Time Coordinating System. It's a long word, BLOCS. We have 109 sites that we work with. We are not the end all be all. There are organizations throughout the city that are providing care. Some of the programs around the city are providing Monday through Friday, pretty much all day. Some of them have a cost, some of them are low cost. Some options are a couple days a week for a couple of hours, and they're free. If you are looking for every day, I work with these organizations, and so I am getting flyers from many of them. I will make sure that we're posted on these flyers. Will get posted on the Metro United Way website under our parent engagement card. I will also pass them along to Crystal so that she'll have them as well. So if parents want to reach out, they will have means to see who's doing what right now. Our goal with the interest form, the Community Learning Hub interest form that Dr. Price spoke about, was to find out who in the community is interested in doing. Some of the folks are already planning for the fall. They already are enrolling for the fall. They still have openings for the fall. We want to find a way for the families to have a more streamlined way of finding these sites. And so we are working on that right now. We don't have any kind of final determination, but we are working hard to make sure that this information gets out to parents so that they know what's available to them. As I said before, reach out to Crystal. I will pass along all of the information that I have from our block sites. And as time moves on, the information from the interest forms will also probably be published somewhere and housed somewhere.
And a lot of families, what I'm getting on here, a lot of questions, Renee, I think you might be able to help us with this, is when will school start? Is there a start time? Is there an end time? Are there gonna be periods? Like, I mean, families are like, show me what this looks like. What is this gonna look like? So
Me
this is what I
too,
wanna-
right? Me too. That's really going to come from your child's teacher. Your child's teacher is the one that's really going to be able to tell you, okay, on this day, I'm going to have live instruction. And we want to let our parents know too, when we say that live instruction, if for whatever reason, if your child can't be on the computer at that time, and they need to see it later, that's okay, because anything that's shown live will be recorded and students can view that later. So we want our families to know that this isn't your only option to get the instruction and to be stressed about that. Again, we'll be flexible with our families, and there will be that recorded option available as well. But to say, okay, at elementary school, the start time is 9:05, that is going to be up to the teacher, and all those expectations are really going to be laid out really well for our families in NTI 2.0. So one of the things, and Dr. Sharer touched on, there's 3 big buckets when we look at NTI 2.0. There's that instructional piece, whereas NTI 1.0, there was more assignments and things to support the learning that had happened. This time we really know we have to engage in new instruction, and that has to be a part of NTI 2.0. The other piece is more frequent communication. So last time you may have heard from your teacher a couple of times a week, once a week. We want to have frequent, sometimes daily communication with our families this time around. And the other piece is to simplify. Dr. Price was talking about, I think, multiple platforms and where do I get the work from, and what is this? What's this password? What is this site? Now, where do I go? So what we're really looking to do this time around is to make sure that the teachers lay out the work for the week, and there's a simplified platform for students to access the work. So we think all of that together will make the experience, enhance the experience of NTI 2.0 and creates that structure. The timing of the day, it might look a little bit different depending on the teacher.
And I forgot to have a shameless plug in there for an amazing website that was created in partnership with NCFL. If someone can share the link to it, we actually have an NTI Family Toolkit. It's with the NTI student and the teacher pages. And on this page, this is literally for families to hopefully put everything in one space, like Renee mentioned. It'll link to Renee's back to school page, so you still get that. But on this page, you'll find how-to videos. You'll find where to find Parent Place, where to find Parent Portal, how to get School Connects. We're still adding to that link. But one of the most important components of that page for me is going to be the little link that says feedback. I really want to know, once you go through that NTI Family Toolkit, what do you still need and what did you find helpful? So I saw that there were some questions about scheduling. How do I even set up a schedule at home? That's one of the things that I'm thinking about, that we necessarily haven't really given that guidance on what that might look like if you're trying to set up your own schedule. Those are things that we can help with. So once you go to the NTI Toolkit page, the Family Toolkit, see what's on there. We have how-to videos. We have some information about like what the teachers are going to be using. You may like I had a moment where I was wondering, what is Gale? Gale is a tool. Look, Angelique's laughing. I was like, who is Gale? I don't know Gale. But it's a tool that schools are going to be able to use, teachers will use, that students can access and find news articles. Great, awesome. But those are the type of things that as family members, we don't necessarily know what these things are. So on that Family Toolkit, we are trying to have as many links to community resources, to how-to videos. And if you look on that page and there's something you're like, we still need, please let us know. So I can't believe time is going this fast. Angelique, did you want to share something on that too?
Well, I have something actually different. There was a question that was submitted, I believe, before today about assistive technology. If a student has an IEP and they have some type of specialized device or equipment they use. So last time we had NTI, we wrote it out really quickly and there were a lot of things that we didn't know. And we worked to provide like Braille notes and Braillers to our students who have visual impairments. But there are some other tools that students might need to use in the home environment, and those devices might still be at the school. So we're telling our families they need to work with their school staff to get access to those devices. We know a little bit more about the virus right now. We know that we can have some contact as long as we have the social distancing and wear a mask. So that way we can provide those assistive technology devices that students might need to use in their virtual environment. It may not be necessary to implement the IEP. It really is going to depend on that student. But if a student should need their specialized piece of equipment from the school, they can work with their school ARC chair or ECE implementation coach and the principal to get that needed device, following the CDC guidelines.
And that's perfect because we also had another question about a student and they were scheduled to get evaluated for their IEP, but school shut down. So they were trying to figure out when they're going to get their evaluation.
So we are in the process of developing a schedule to kind of make amends to kind of evaluate those students. There are some components of the evaluation process that really have to be completed face-to-face. And so those components, we may have to wait until school resumes face-to-face, but we have invested in some tools to kind of go ahead for those pieces that don't have to be in person to go ahead and do those assessments virtually. And so we are excited that our district invested in our department to get the tools that we needed to make that happen. We have several students, I believe it was 400 students that really need to have some type of assessment completed. And so we're in the process of developing a schedule to get those assessments completed. That's a great question. Thanks.
Awesome. And we had a question about hours. If I'm a parent and I have a question, I needed support after school hours, how would I reach out to my child's teacher? So Renee, if you want to speak to that one.
Sure, I think that's where School Connect will come in very handy, that two-way piece of communication. So that's one way that you can reach out to your school, but just to call your school and talk to the staff members there and let them know what your circumstances and the supports that you need. We're here for you. Even though we can't physically be together, we are here to support you in whatever way possible to make sure that instruction can continue and to make sure we can maybe connect you with the Urban League or Metro United Way, who've been outstanding to work with and have been great community partners. So we know that the help is there. Dr. Felicia Young talked about our Friskies who are available. So there's lots of support for all of our families right now. And just let us know how we can help you and we'll be there for you.
Oh, we love you, Renee. It's like Renee just has our heart. Like, it's just like, we're here. We got you. So we have like 3 minutes. Panelists, is there any last thoughts or things that you want to leave with our families that have joined us today?
Yeah, I just want to highlight that piece that Renee just touched on with actually providing support for families and understanding the need for different schedules. So we received a lot of outreach from parents who were very concerned about some issue with their child, but it was after hours. And it was, can you help me to communicate with the teacher about? And so it would be helpful to have more support for families outside of the normal traditional school day. And understanding a lot of the teachers are parents, right? So they're going to be wanting to turn off their switch and work with their kids when they need to as well. So we understand that, but I guess my point is it's very helpful to have as many supports in place as possible. So I can't stress that enough. And then my last little piece, with my former homeschool educator hat, the question from one of our participants or viewers about kindergartners. I think a lot of the anxieties for parents of kindergartners, just kind of putting myself in those shoes that are probably feeling really ridiculously big right now, is that your child really doesn't have a frame for a K12 experience yet. So hopefully that can ease some of your anxieties about what this first year will look like for them or how they will respond, because they haven't had an in-person K12 experience. Like that intro hasn't happened. So they don't really have anything to compare it with. So, I mean, hopefully that helps you to kind of be in a better space, and also understanding that the best classroom for any student is the world. And part of that is your house or your home, your community. So I hope that helps to ease some anxieties. And the last little plug, shameless plug here, about the Urban League is really that there are a lot of organizations like us that if we're not providing the service, we're very interested in connecting you with someone who does. So, and my little guy is here right now. Like, this is reality, right? Like, he's crawling up to me right now. So I'm gonna mute.
I want to. Oh, yay! Okay, we've come to 7 o'clock. We've come to our time, and I want to just thank all of our panelists for joining us today, for sharing such amazing information. What I continue to think about is, we can't do it alone, and this is an endurance race. It's not a sprint. This is not a town hall. He's just too cute. I almost can't talk. This is not a town hall where we're going to give you information and we're saying, bye, have fun, do it on your own. What we're saying is we're in a relationship and we are working together. So we'll have more opportunities for town hall events. We'll have more opportunities to connect. We'll have a really cool live learning session coming up next week. Stay tuned for that information. But we just want to leave you with, we're here for you, with you. We appreciate you joining in. You're here because you care about not only your kids, but the community, and we appreciate that. So with that, I think we are signing off, everyone, on our first NTI 2.0 session. And we have such a cute visitor. Like, he's the best. All right, thank you all so much for joining us today. We will see you soon.